What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Bluebird Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, ESPN decides that former Olympic gold medalist, Ireland British superstar, undefeated, two-division world champion, undisputed lightweight world champion, Katie Taylor, is a better boxer than two-time Olympic gold medalist, then three-division world champion, who is undisputed in two separate divisions, became the fastest three-division world champion, male or female, in the history of the sport of boxing with only 10 fights in their career. Claressa T-Rex Shields, superstar boxer to say the least. The GOAT, greatest woman of all time. Claressa Shields is a two-time gold medalist. Claressa Shields is a three-division world champion. Claressa Shields has become so faster than anybody, male or female, in the history of the sport of boxing with only 10 fights. She's undisputed in two separate weight classes. And yet ESPN says that Katie Taylor is the number one female fighter in the world. You heard it, that Katie Taylor, who is a great fighter, but the number one female fighter in the world, 18 wins, no losses, 6 wins by way of knockout. Katie Taylor is 34 years of age, stands at 5'5" with a 66-inch arm reach. She just recently fought Natasha Jonas, where she got a unanimous decision victory. But prior to that, she fought Delphine Parsons back in 2019, which was a controversial win for Katie Taylor because most people thought that Delphine Parsons won that fight. In Claressa Shields' career, she doesn't have any controversial wins because she makes it abundantly clear who the best fighter is. The closest fight she's had one close fight her entire career as a professional. 11 wins, no losses, 2 wins by way of knockout. She's 26 years of age. So she's significantly younger than Katie Taylor. She stands at 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. Her closest fight, most people felt, was against Hannah Gabriels when she was knocked down in that fight. That was back in 2018. She still got a UD, unanimous decision victory, and she clearly separated herself in that fight after getting knocked down. But that was a close fight, but there was no controversy as to who won the fight. It was just a close competitive fight. In Katie Taylor's case, most people thought Delphine Parsons didn't get the nod, and that was an issue. It was controversy there. She had a rematch, and she beat Delphine Parsons, separated herself in the second fight, that being Katie Taylor. But Claressa, with the 11 fights, has become undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. And she's a 3-division world champion. And she fought a world champion, world-class fighter in Franchon Cruz de Zone, who's a world champion. Her first fight as a professional, her debut fight. So Claressa Shields, the most decorated female boxer in the history of the sport of boxing, who's undefeated and only 26 years of age, doesn't have any controversial fights, just a close fight. The biggest fight against Christina Hammer, who at the time was undefeated and seen as to be top pound-for-pound fighters in female boxing, when she was 24 wins with no losses. Okay? That was a massive showdown, undisputed showdown for Claressa Shields, which is the biggest fight in women's boxing currently. Still stands today. And Claressa Shields, she dominated the fight from rounds 1 through 12. Got a unanimous decision victory over the bigger fighter, 5'11", 71-inch arm reach, 30 years of age. She's now 26 wins, 1 loss with 12 wins by way of knockout in Christina Hammer. Okay? People thought this was a 50-50 fight. Claressa Shields made it look easy. She dominated every second of every minute of every round. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. This is irresponsible on the part of ESPN. It's very misleading and it's irresponsible on the part of ESPN. Now, they have to know the accomplishments from Claressa Shields. Now, obviously, their weight classes apart from one another. Claressa Shields, she fights at 154. That's the lowest. She fought at 168, 160, and now 154. Right? Is Katie Taylor willing to come up to a catch weight and fight Claressa Shields? No, everybody would say that Katie Taylor is too small for Claressa Shields. So that means Claressa Shields is the best fighter in the world, especially when it comes to the female boxing. There's no doubt about it. Because the pound for pound list was created for weight classes anything other than heavyweight. So and the reason they did that was because as the heavyweight division goes, so goes the sport of boxing. If you're the best fighter in the world at heavyweight, well, a cruiserweight, a middleweight, a welterweight is not going to be the heavyweight because they're simply too big. So there's weight classes for a reason. So if Claressa Shields, then she's not a heavyweight. She's actually a junior middleweight. So if she's too big for Katie Taylor, well, then that means she's the best fighter in the world. Because that means Katie Taylor can't compete with Claressa Shields. She can't compete with her accomplishments. She's not a 3-division world champion. She's a 2-division world champion. Yes, she's undisputed. She holds 4 major sanction belts, but Claressa Shields beat her to that honor. She's a 1-time Olympic gold medalist. Claressa's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. The bigger, higher profile fight, Claressa Shields and Christina Hammer, it don't come close to any of Katie Taylor's big fights. She's been in the bigger fights. She's done so with only 10 fights in her career. And get this, she's 26 and Katie Taylor's 34. So she still has 9 years to get where Katie Taylor is. 8 years to get where Katie Taylor is. And look what she's already accomplished. Look how she's already established. And she's transitioning to, get this, MMA world. She has her debut coming up June 10th in Atlantic City. Because there's no competition in boxing for her. Is Katie Taylor willing to come up to a catch weight to fight Claressa Shields? Claressa Shields, would she get the necessary just due and credit if she beat Katie Taylor? Because the narrative would be that Katie Taylor was just too small for her. So that means Katie Taylor can't beat her. So that means Katie Taylor is not the best fighter in the world in female boxing. That means it's Claressa Shields. Because Claressa Shields is not a heavyweight. So how could Katie Taylor be the number 1 pound for pound female fighter in the world when she have Claressa Shields at 26 years old in the very prime of her career? She ain't even reached the prime of her career yet. She hasn't even touched the prime, surfaced the prime of her career yet. And she's dominating the sport. Now they're trying to build up another fighter who last beat Claressa Shields, I think it was over 10 years ago, in Savannah Marshall. She beat her in the amateurs on points, on a point system. And Claressa Shields still won the gold medal that year. She still was the creme de la creme. So how could we say that Katie Taylor is a better fighter? How can ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, the biggest sporting platform in the world, not know the accomplishments of Claressa Shields? Or do they? Or do they? So now, here you have an American fighter right on US soil. And you have the biggest sporting platform that's created right here on US soil. And they decide to venture across the pond to name a fighter from across the pond to be better than the fighter that won the United States gold medal 2 times over? One has to wonder why. Or do we? Or do we? When does it stop? When does it end? This is irresponsible on the part of ESPN. It's misleading. So you have casual fans that will look at this list and don't know all of the history of Claressa Shields and her accomplishments and think, oh yeah, well, Katie Taylor's the best fighter. No, she's not. Because like I said, see, they're not worlds apart. Like the heavyweight division and the welterweight division, when Floyd Mayweather was campaigning, he was the best pound for pound fighter in the world, and you knew he couldn't beat a Lennox Lewis or a Vander Holyfield or a Mike Tyson. Right? So there was you exclude the heavyweight division because the pound for pound list was created for Sugar Ray Robinson, the middleweight. Because again, as the heavyweight division goes, so goes the sport of boxing. Is Sugar Ray Robinson going to beat Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier? No, he's too small. So they created a different lane. But here you have a case where Katie Taylor, she could move through the weight classes. She could gain weight. We saw Amanda Serrano is a 7-division world champion. So that means Katie Taylor could venture through these weight classes just like Amanda Serrano has done. She's a 7-division world champion. 7. Manny Pacquiao did it. That's why Amanda Serrano and Manny Pacquiao get so much credit, because they ventured through so many different weight classes. And Manny Pacquiao is not a big guy. He's 5'5". He's the same height as Katie Taylor. At 5'5". But guess what? He went all the way up to junior middleweight and became a world champion. So if that's the case, then Katie Taylor can go up to a catchweight and fight Claressa Shields, right? Why not? Ironically, Katie Taylor is 5'5" with a 66-inch arm reach. Manny Pacquiao is 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach. So Manny Pacquiao is a grown man. He's the same size as Katie Taylor. So you mean to tell me Katie Taylor can't move through the weight classes, weight divisions? Huh? Because Claressa Shields, she's only 5'8". So that's Floyd Mayweather. Huh? Everybody thought that Manny Pacquiao could beat Floyd Mayweather, didn't they? Everybody thought that Manny Pacquiao could beat Floyd Mayweather, didn't they? She has more knockouts than Claressa Shields, don't she? She has more knockouts than Claressa Shields, so she has more power than Claressa Shields, right? So she should be able to go up and challenge Claressa Shields, who's 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. So Claressa Shields is only 3 inches taller with only 2-inch arm reach advantage. Floyd Mayweather is 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. Manny Pacquiao is 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach, and that's the biggest fight in the history of the sport of boxing. And Claressa Shields, she has a total of 2 knockouts her entire career. Katie Taylor got 6, so she's a knockout artist. So that fight could be made, right? This is irresponsible on the part of ESPN. It's a bad look. That's all I got for y'all, man. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share your videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
This is Amanda, the real Deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.